I hope everyone's having an amazing Thursday. Again, I appreciate you all joining in for our webinar today. It's as it says, turning data into dollars. We're talking about the data side of marketing and how to truly evaluate how well something is performing, and then making actionable decisions upon said data. So hopefully that's what you all are signed up for and find it interesting to move forward with. But yeah, and as you have any questions, again, feel free to leverage the chat. Feel free to leverage the Q&A, whatever works for best for you. But we were going to get this party started. I'm going to record this. Oh, it automatically recorded. Perfect. All right, it's already recording, so we'll get this show on the road. So and today should be a little bit of a quicker webinar as well. But the agenda for today, as you can see, the breakdown, understanding the power of marketing data. So obviously a step above just marketing, the data behind it, optimizing key marketing channels, leveraging the customer relationship for more revenue, and then implementing the data-driven strategies that you're finding from the data for more growth. So hopefully, again, we are able to hit on all those things and answer any questions that you may have. But to start it off, to throw in a question, do you consistently track marketing data for your shop? And if you are, what do you currently track? So just like yeses if you do track it, no if you don't. And if you do track it, I would love to hear about what you are tracking. Okay. And so yeah, we got some yeses, we got some nos. Some people aren't sure what to track, which is fair. We'll talk about that. Um, so yeah, and so some people are tracking to kind of like their calls and whatnot. So great. Okay, so yeah, we'll be chatting about all these different things as we go along here. And sorry, I have a bit of a niche. Okay, and so why data-driven marketing wins at the end of the day? And so without data, without tracking how your marketing is performing, you won't truly understand, I guess, your return on your investment. And the return on investment, for those that don't know, or ROI, is for every dollar that you're spending on marketing, how many dollars are you getting back? And that should give you some sort of X return or percentage return, depending upon which data point someone is just giving that feedback to. But ideally, you want to be understanding that. So as for every dollar, you should be making some dollars back, or else the marketing is for not. And if you're not tracking to it, then you're kind of hoping and wishing that marketing is working, but you're not truly knowing. And so that's a problem in terms of that. And that's where frustration comes into play. Typically, is where people start feeling like they're slow and thus assuming that then okay, marketing is not working. Then if I am slow, and so that may not be the end all be all story. You need to be able to truly understand, okay, yeah, this is what I'm spending on marketing though, and it's still bringing me X return. Is that X return good? Do I want that to be better? Is that still at the end of the day a positive return that I'm making money back on every dollar that I'm spending, and thus where it's a no-brainer for me, etc. Those are different, definitely things you want to be doing. And then obviously data equals smarter decisions equals more revenue. And there's lots of different ways again to have data, and you need to have the right data. And accurate data. Because if not, it's just giving you misguided, misleading information. And then so someone asked a question: how often should be reviewing my marketing data? Um, I review marketing data every single day, but in my opinion, for a shop owner, I think you should review it once a week, if not once every couple of weeks, just at the longest, to just truly understand, as a benchmark for yourself of how things are performing. Again, and if you're using a marketing vendor or whatever it may be, then it just helps hold things accountable, and that you're just understanding properly what is going in and out. And there just isn't, again, money going out and you're unsure of how much is coming back in to the business. You want to make sure you're understanding that coming back in portion. So that way you are budgeting and managing to those dollars the right way. But yeah, great question in terms of how often you should be reviewing. Again, if you're reviewing it every day, great. Sometimes every day might be a little bit overkill because of some of the like data on a day-to-day basis. There are just some bad days in which the data pulls through, and then it looks like, oh, what is going on? It's not a true depiction. Usually, you want to go over a larger data set to give you a proper feel of what's going on. Usually, at least a week's worth of data, if not a little bit more, just to give you again that proper guidance that you have. But so now I want to talk about, again, vanity metrics versus revenue driving metrics. And so I don't know if anyone's heard of these different terms. I think revenue driving metrics is pretty straightforward, but vanity, maybe some people, you probably know what they are, but maybe you haven't heard the word before. But vanity metrics are things like likes, impressions, follower count. Those are going to be vanity metrics. So they're great to increase the audience that you sell to, but doesn't tell you the ROI and or even if it's like your ideal customer that's liking or doing and commenting these things. Because engagement is great, but you want to have the right engagement as well. And so if again a lot of the metrics in which you're receiving data back is along the lines of just like more large and holistic, that again to me might not tell the story of how well your marketing is performing. It may even be kind of hiding some of the inaccuracies of the current marketing in terms of like kind of pointing your eyes and your vision into a different direction. Again, it's good to be aware of, but definitely not a metric that you need to be pulsing constantly because especially in the auto repair industry, it's not going to be um, kind of a revenue driving statistic. And so revenue driving metrics are going to be things like your booking rate, your cost per lead, your customer retention, kind of the split between new customers versus existing customers, things like that. Those are definitely going to be revenue driving metrics that helps you understand how the business is performing and how well things should be. So that's kind of the clear difference between the two. Hopefully, again, you all are aware of those differences. If not, hopefully is a knowledge point for yourself where a lot of the when you're looking at data you should be looking at revenue driving metrics because that's going to again at the end of the day truly determine how well your marketing is performing in different channels. All right, so now we'll talk about website data. And so for websites itself, I mean, a lot of people tell me, I mean, how many people go on websites anymore and things like that. And yeah, I mean, the effect of the kind of overall traffic on a website and the effectiveness has gone down just based on people being more and more mobile friendly, but at the same time, people just looking for just immediate gratification. And sometimes even clicking on the website, viewing the website, reviewing it takes too long for people. They're like, I don't want to do that. I can just look at the little review marker and I just click on call. And so a lot of your conversions should be coming from your Google Business profile, and that's just your map listing, and that should be properly optimized. But the website is going to be working as sort of the data warehouse of all that information that then ties to and helps some of these other metrics that will then again result in more revenue driving things. But the key metric to track on the website itself is going to be organic versus paid website traffic. There should be a clear delineation, a clear difference between the two. Organic, that just means that hey, if someone types in auto repair in your area and they scroll past the ads and they go down to the website and they click on the website, that's going to be an organic way that they found you. You did not pay for that view. When they go through an ad, they go at the very top, they click on the link, it goes to a website or a landing page. That's going to be a paid source of traffic. And again, paid is going to be more expensive to get there, and thus the acquisition cost is much higher. And so you want to definitely track to paid and understanding what's going on there because that can move quite a bit in terms of how expensive it can get. Organic should be a lot more long term, but that it should be a big snowball that starts accumulating more and more over time as rankings and things improve. So other key metrics are going to be bounce rate and time on site. So bounce rate is not a metric that directly affects SEO, like kind of your ranking. It's kind of an indirect effect because if Google is seeing that, hey, people are leaving your website more and more often, say it doesn't load very quickly, or they're just not spending very much time there, it's going to start to devalue the trust of your site and your business. And thus over time, it can slowly incrementally affect your rankings just because of that trust. So again, it's not like this is your bounce rate. If your bounce rate is amazing or bounce rate is horrible, that's going to be your ranking. No, it's kind of like a feel of like, yeah, it's starting to see that is a consistent process that's happening with said thing. It'll start ranking things a little bit lower if the trust is not there, or vice versa. If the trust is there, things start to improve. And then conversion rate is just how many people from visiting a website actually turn into a paying customer, or they actually clicked on a call, or they clicked on an appointment booking. They took another step from the site, and so you want to make sure you're understanding that portion as well, especially if you want to have these buttons and things on the site very clear and visible. But at Lyft, we use landing pages so that our kind of organic website traffic is true organic data versus again paid data. For me, again, some people believe other things, but I think it should be a clear delineation between the two. Because sometimes paid traffic, they'll have spammy visits and things like that. Thus, where a spammy visit affects the bounce rate and time on site on your organic website, and then it can affect over time your SEO. So in my opinion. It should be clearly separate. Paid ads should go to a landing page. And again, that I've mentioned this a lot, but the customer's mindset that clicks on an ad versus clicking on your organic website and actually doing research is much different. Like, and so the information, the way that you're speaking to them, like an ad should be urgency, and because they're obviously looking for a need right now, that's why they're not really researching. They just went to the very top and clicked versus website needs to be more trust and like, hey, like this is all the things that we've done. This is why you can choose us too. So very slightly different in terms of how you portray it. You want to still obviously have trust on a paid ad too, but it's more so like how you can get them in quickly and you can take care of them now, etc. Those are kind of hot words that like people are like, okay, yes, perfect. I can call them. They'll take care of it. So those are different ones that you want to take a look at there for websites, both organic versus paid. And so the power of clear calls to action. And so there's some simple mistakes that you can make kind of on your website, on ads, say like a Facebook ad even, where a simple thing we put book now versus learn more. Learn more, I guess for you guys, which one do you think converts better? A book now or learn more? Let's just throw it in the chat in terms of you can type in the words or just put in one for book now or two for learn more. Okay, and we have a lot of book nows, a handful of learn mores, but in this situation, I'd be looking definitely for a book now. So learn more is going to be again, it's going to lead them down a path of more and more research, which they can definitely get off of the top of the bar, and they can be able to click and go and do those things on the top of a website, especially without scrolling. That's the kind of the big thing that I have for individuals is look at your sites without scrolling. Can someone do the action that you want them to take at the end of the day, which is more than likely to give you a call to get in and bring their car in or book an appointment and bring their car in? Can they do those things without scrolling on the site? And so here, I probably should move my face out of the way here. So here we have a couple examples of like, hey, without scrolling, they can call, they can make an appointment. There's a couple book appointment nows because this person slightly prefers online bookings a little bit more than call. And so like kind of the call to action there to kind of draw their eyes is a little bit more towards booking an appointment, but still very possible to easily tap and click and call there. So that's the direction that typically you want to take. In other situations, again, if you're guiding them to a blog or that's where they kind of they found a blog on the site and eventually you talk about it and they want to learn a little bit more about that. And again, it's going to depend on the page in which they're getting to. But in this case, if it's the home page, we want a very clear calls to action that will build towards conversion. Because again, at the end of the day, that's more than likely what you're wanting. You don't want them just to read a bunch of things on your site and be like, "Oh, that was great information," and then forget why they even were on there and went and did something else. You want them to book, and so that's where we want to call to that urgency slightly. And button placement, this is again where some people get fancy with it and throw it in different spots, but the default has always been I mean, there's been a lot of tests on these things psychologically and how people view the sites is they immediately look to the top right of where to go and take action. And so the action that you want taken should be clearly in the top right corner of a site. Again, that is just the way the human mind has worked and why it is. It should be in a different color. That is, again, very clear as day what you are wanting them to take place and do there. But that is where it should be. Also, having one in the middle of the website never hurts. And as you're scrolling, it should always be visible. So the header should be fixed, and thus where as you're scrolling, yes, things can change below, but the header should still be there. So that way, at any time, even if they're seeing more and more information, at whatever moment they decide to like, yep, now is the time I need a book or give them a call, that should be still visible there, regardless of where they are on the site. So little things that definitely you want to make sure happen. All right. And so now I want to talk about ads in and of itself. So websites is definitely a lot more of an organic game. And so there should be some again, correct conversions that were on there to ensure that your website is working for you and not against you. And so hopefully I hit on those things right. Ads, you're spending a variable amount each and every month that you're trying to win more, ideally new customers from it. And so thus with the variableness, you need to have a lot more tracking mechanisms and a lot more data to ensure that it's optimized correctly. And so I'm going to talk about some of the key metrics that we look at and kind of also what those ranges should be. And again, as any of you have questions, please feel free to type it in the chat and I can ask her like maybe why that is the metric, so on and so forth. Because again, there's varying opinions. We're just basing it off the data in which of all the accounts and things that we track against and what we push our team to do. And that's where we see if, yeah, we're hitting these barometers, more than likely there's a high likelihood that success is taking place for the shop owner as well. So key metrics to track. First and foremost, it's going to be click-through rate. And so click-through rate or CTR is just are people clicking on the ad? And so that's where the ad was visible and you were appearing so many times. How many times that the ad was visible did people actually click on the ad? The click-through rate is, again, it's going to depend on even the keyword and a type of, say you have a special or a promo along the lines of it that will affect the click-through rate. But you're looking for a click-through rate, again, upwards of 15% at least. Ideally, I mean, again, you want it as high as possible. But again, not everyone that sees an ad will click on it. But if you're seeing that click-through rate start dipping into kind of again the low single digits even, then I would say it's a content piece on the ad that is not enticing people enough. Like maybe it's too generic or maybe even the promo is too untrustworthy where like there's no way they really do that. So that you got to be careful in terms of the kind of the words that you're using. But a lot of times, again, you can look and see what other ads in the area there are. More than likely, if you're seeing commonalities between the phrasing that has worked before, and so you can manipulate said phrasing to be something slightly unique, or even sometimes you do the adverse of said thing, just to be different, then that can make it stickier for the customer as well. But that's one thing where like, yeah, you're seeing the click-through rate dip a little low, more than likely that means your content copy that's on the ad is not very good. And so then adjustment needs to be made. So that way you're starting to see a more positive direction of click-through rate. Because again, it just shows me that there isn't anything being said on your ad that's enticing the customer when they see the ad. They're just scrolling right by it. Or if they even start, maybe they're clicking on a different ad that's even below that. So that's going to be an important metric to look at. Cost per acquisition is probably one of the most important ones. And it's just what is the cost per lead that's coming through versus your ad? And again, this is defined a bunch of different ways. You want to ensure that the metric and the definition in which someone is determining the cost per acquisition that you understand and then that it is accurate. So for us here, for a Google ad, for it to be even considered a lead, it needs to hit a certain length of time on a phone call. Typically, that's going to be 30 seconds, unless, say, someone has a pretty long voiceover, kind of an introduction to the shop, then we'll kind of extend that even longer. But ideally, especially for ads, you don't like 30 seconds should be long enough where they get to an actual person. If it takes, like, if we're saying that, oh yeah, we're seeing that we need to increase the length of time to say 45 seconds because the voiceover is really long, sometimes it's a little bit dangerous where people, again, because people are looking for immediate gratification, if they're waiting too long, if you're having to click on too many buttons to get to an actual person, there's a high chance they're like, forget this, I'm hanging up, I'm just gonna call the next person and see if I can get to a person quicker. Because a lot of these other support systems that you go through. I mean, I've been stuck on some for a long time, and you just keep clicking through buttons and buttons, and you keep waiting, and eventually you finally are like, how do I get to a real human? And you don't want to create that kind of feeling for anyone else. So ensure that that length of time, 30 seconds, should be long enough, but it should be at least that long. If it's the default in Google, if you didn't even change it, would just be a second long. And so if someone didn't change it, their cost per acquisition maybe look really strong, and that would give you again a false determination of how well your ads are really performing. Someone asked, what's a healthy CPA for an auto repair shop? And so for us, if it's a general auto repair shop, usually we're looking for a CPA between the $40 to $60 mark. So that cost per lead should be around that range. Anything lower than that, again, is very, very strong. Obviously, we want that to be as cheap as possible, but you want to ensure then again, like if you're saying, oh yeah, but my cost per lead has never been like above $40. It's always been like in the teens. I would make sure you're evaluating and understanding how someone is defining that for you, because it could, again, it could be the fact that they're counting too many things as an acquisition and giving you a improper depiction that, oh yeah, I think they're running it so well, but it's a bunch of kind of garbage leads coming through, and you're getting confused. It's like, yeah, it's showing that it's so well, but I'm not seeing more new cars come in, and that could be kind of how that sort of takes place there. And then conversion rates, yeah, our clicks turning into customers. You want to take that step for yes, I did say $40 to $60 for a general auto repair. It should be there. When you're looking at more Euro focused, again, now the supply of search terms goes down and the demand obviously is pretty high. And so that cost usually increases. Usually that range is going to creep a little bit closer to 80, even $100 at times for that cost per acquisition. So yes, Euros are a little bit more expensive, but it's just the nature of the game of like, hey, yeah, there's less search volume for a specific type, and thus where you're having to spend a little bit more dollars to acquire that customer. And again, as long as you're understanding that properly, because sometimes if you're comparing again your Euro shop to a general store, it's very different, and the game is different in terms of ads in and of itself. So you want to just plan accordingly when you're going about doing those things, because all volume is not equal. And if someone says otherwise, then I mean, I'll have a strong discussion with them about why I think that's very clearly different. But those are the metrics in which we're seeing right now across of both general auto repair, 40 to 60 for cost per acquisition, and then for euros, those should be kind of 80 to 100, I would say. But again, um, this is for Google AdWords that I'm talking to again as well. Local service ads are another level of ads that are again are new for auto repair. They're probably we got to be like 8 months old now. That's open to all the states, but cost per acquisition there has been $20 and under sometimes because again, there's not as many people on it, and it's just that little Google guaranteed badge that you see at the very top of Google now for auto repair search terms. And you're getting very, very easy wins because there's just not as many people that are on it competing against you, and that's where you're getting all this supply at a much cheaper cost. It's never going to get cheaper than this. It should every month just keep going up as more people are aware and getting these set up for even like if marketing companies are getting set up for their customers. It's just going to keep going up, but you might as well take advantage now as fast as possible because again, leads are very cheap. And so if you're looking and you can handle new customers, that's definitely a route that I would strongly suggest considering if you haven't already. Because yeah, we're seeing really good wins there. The tricky part is for I get the question about for Europe, so it's a lot for yeah you can't really silo by search types there. It's just hey you sign up and you let them know what type of shop you are, and then kind of the keywords and whatnot is kind of up to Google. And so if you're say a Euro shop, sometimes you might be getting a little bit more vehicles out of what your niche is, just because it's kind of catered to a little bit more of a general sort of audience. But you can keep playing with it and keep like because you're able to rebuttal certain leads with Google on local service ads to say like, hey, yeah, this wasn't a lead because of this thing, and they'll give you kind of credits back. But again, you can start to teach it a little bit, and if your brand name is strong enough, then yeah, then you'll start getting the right leads. So it's still a viable mechanism, but again, the cost per conversion won't be quite as effective as a general store. All right, and so ad targeting. So this again another level in which you want to understand how an ad campaign is being driven, and thus giving you better data at the end of the day. Because the whole point of this is turning your data into better dollars. And so, geo targeting is different than geo fencing. And so I want to make sure that is very clear. Geo fencing is when you create a kind of a radius around something, and when people drive through it and whatnot, they get pinged with certain ads. That's very different style of ads. Geo-targeting is just going to be when you are setting up your ads to show up within a certain radius within Google ads itself or Facebook ads, whatever you may be running. But you want to create a pretty tight radius because majority of your clients are not driving that far to get to you unless again you're in the middle of nowhere. And yes, and I'm sure all of you have certain clients that they come from a different state. I mean, I've heard it all, but that isn't majority. So you do want to market to that. Oh, because I have this one person that is in a different state, that means I can probably pull from a 50-mile radius. Like, no, now you're just creating unnecessary competition for nothing. And that's maybe sometimes where some people get calls from a different state, and because they didn't have a correct, proper like geo-targeting set up around their ad. And that's where, yeah, they did type in that search term, but they're looking for someone next to where they are, not where you are. And so you want to create a proper radius. Usually 3 to 5 miles is plenty of where you are, and going to be get you a good selection of audience. So make sure that it's set to that. And also make sure that there's two default selections within location settings. One is people that are definitely in the bubble, and another one is just like people that are like Google finds that they maybe are closely related to the term, or at some point in time they drove through it, or whatever it may be, and you do not want to have it set to that general setting where you kind of letting Google decide of where it should go, because that's when you start getting calls again that are out way far away, and you're like, how did this person even find me? This was the location setting bubble. Like even if it was set to 3 to 5 miles, there's two different selections again. The bubble selection was incorrect. So make sure it's set on like the precision one where it's like, yeah, it's 3 to 5 miles precisely, only people that are in it while they were searching. That's what it should be set at. And then there's time-based ads. So running ads during certain hours of the day. So typically you want it when someone can actually answer the phone. But if you have online booking, then you can also set parameters that are outside of your business hours. Because sometimes people search outside of business hours, and if they're still able to book, that's that's great. But then you also want to create certain like call parameters that if they're calling outside of business hours, it lets them know that they can book an appointment, and then kind of forwards that to them as well. Because again, that's the risk of having things outside of business hours, because you know that if they call, there's a 100% chance that no one's going to answer because no one is there, and that's a waste. That's a lot of wasted dollars if you keep setting your parameters up. So some people even don't even realize there's a time-based parameter in AdWords, and thus they're getting all their dollars are getting spent outside of business hours because there's low competition, but no one's answering the phone, and thus they're wasting all their money. So you want to make sure that if you're doing any sort of time parameters, you understand why that you are doing said thing. Typically, if you don't have some of these extra extra things set up, you want to at least have it set up for only your business hours, so that way you know that if someone calls, there's a high chance that you have someone there to answer the phone. Um, and then retargeting ads, 70% of visitors leave your site without booking, and so retargeting brings them back. So there's certain like tags that you can have on there that shows that, yeah, they visited the site and they didn't do a certain click, and then thus an ad should go back to them. And that's how sometimes you like looked up a site one time, and then you go onto social media and then you see an ad pop up right there. You're like, wow, how in the world did they do that? And I know there's some even creepier ones where you got a conversation and then it appears. And so, but that's where again the retargeting comes into play, where if it notices some of your habits had a high likelihood of like you potentially being a customer, but you didn't quite follow through on that yet, then you'll keep getting hit with these same ads over and over again, which it's a powerful tool to be able to leverage, but you want to make sure that it is situated that way that, yeah, if someone visited you but didn't book, like an ad should keep going to them. There's a high chance that as you keep hitting those touch points, that they'll eventually come through. All right. And so now we have the difference between kind of a generic ad versus kind of really a more targeted ad. And so a generic ad would be we fix cars, and thus it'll have a lower click through rate, higher cost per click on average. And again, it's great for people to know that you fix cars, but you can take a step further of like you fix everything. You like or what type of thing that you actually fix. But when you start targeting things a little bit more, yes, the nets in which that the focus is capturing is a little bit less, but now you're usually really hitting on a pain point for a good amount of people that answers to them. So a good target ad would be, hey, free brake inspection, book now. And then that kind of really like, oh, I need that taken care of for myself. I'm absolutely going to do that. So typically you'll get higher engagement, lower cost when there is something of specificity around your ad. More general, again, can work great at times, but more than likely you'll want to fix that up. So for example, in your mailers. And if you're doing if you're running and doing mailers, that'd be something where you want to do A/B. It's called A/B testing, where you're doing different tests on different sort of promos that you have on there and see what's converting the best. And if you're not tracking to that, then you might be running the same ad for years and thinking like, oh, I'm sure it's working, or it's not working anymore, and so I'm just gonna dump it. Like, no, you need to try and exhaust every capability of different styles of promotion, so that way you can properly understand what your audience wants, and then create a higher likelihood that they come through and come in. So hopefully that answers the difference. And someone asked, how often should I be updating or rotating my ads? That is a great question. I think that that would depend upon if something is working or not. I mean, it's a simple fix. So one of the best things that I've learned through marketing is that it's kind of like that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if there, you can always kind of reword an exact promo that worked before. So, for example, free brake inspection. So if you knew that free brake inspection, whenever you run this, it works really, really well. Well, you can run it again in certain times of the year and just call it something else, and cater it to like, hey, yeah, back to school brake inspection special, and then it's still the free brake inspection. It's the same promo that you ran maybe for Valentine's Day, and then but you know that it's going to work. You just kind of called it something slightly different based on the time of year, and that's where now it resonates to the customer a little bit of like, oh yeah, they're aware and they're doing a nice thing of people going back to school. But again, it's the same promo that you've seen work once. And you're redoing it again. So in that sense, yes, you'd be updating or rotating an ad, and that's based on season. But in my opinion, you shouldn't have the same ad, like the same verbiage, same words used again throughout the whole year. More than likely, that's going to get very stale very quickly for people, and that conversion rate will consistently start to dwindle. So you want to adjust that. But in each new year, you could run if that special worked 1 year, I would run it again until it doesn't work. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix that. And if you're getting a really good conversion rate, getting a lot of new good interest in customers, new great engagement, keep leveraging that ability there. Okay. But great question. All right. And so social media data, finding what works and what doesn't. So key metric to track is social media. So I know a lot of you, social media kind of is like, is it working for me? Is it not? Do I even need to do it? I get a lot of those questions, and it is a hard to tell. And then the ROI tends to not be as strong because the correlation isn't as direct at times. Because if you're not running ads, it's a lot of vanity metrics. It's a lot of likes and comments and follows, and like is that resulting in more business? And so I always explain it as like the shotgun approach, where like you're just getting your brand out there as often as possible, and thus where, hey, over all those repetitions of time where someone saw you over and over and over again on social, eventually they might make a buyer decision of like, hey, you know what, I don't even need to look for another store. I know it's them that I want to choose. So they typed in the name, and then when they went in, they maybe were like, how'd you find me? And they're like, oh, I just found you on Google. I just typed you in real quick. And then you type in Google as the source, which is great, but maybe it did result honestly from social media. So it is a little bit harder to see that attachment, but it's important to have as many lines, in my opinion, in different marketing channels, and having your brand awareness be kind of everywhere. Organic photos always perform best. And so when in doubt, try not to use stock photos. Yes, I know it's easy to attain. There's a lot of free ones out there, but that also more than likely means a lot of other people have used that too. So if you're able to take real organic photos of your shop, of people there, of outside, like I do that, because that will create a lot more trust with and a lot more traction in the algorithms. Um, so engagement rate is going to be a key metric to track, so comments, shares, saves, etc. So that's where you want to make sure that sometimes you just post a funny meme or a funny comment or a general question that creates traction in comments. You do not always want to put salesy related posts because none of that's going to get traction ever, if that's all you do. Best performing content, what gets the most clicks. So you want to make sure you're understanding what is performing the best when you post it. And then your follower impression growth. Are you reaching new people over time, or is it just staying in the same bucket? If not, you need to figure out and be creative and getting new ways to reach more people. Um, Someone asked, should I still post even if I don't get many likes or comments? I think 100% you should, because at the end of the day, more content never hurts in terms of I guess the approach of social media. You just create this higher likelihood of getting eyeballs everywhere. There was a reel that I saw that Mr. Beast was interviewing some some individual that ran a YouTube channel in India, and they post like 10 times a day, but they literally get like millions of views every single day just because of like the amount. Like not every video does that, but of those 10, one of them blew up every single time, and they get these tons of views. So like having that many reps, the higher the likelihood that something is going to work, and then you lean into the said thing working. And so after you do it a certain amount of time, I mean, I don't just give up. It's like you want to create that reps, you want to create that brand awareness, but maybe change up the style, maybe involve another business that's local and start posting together with them, and or running a group together that there's a few other businesses in the area, and you guys each pitch in terms of owning a day of the week, and you guys that way you not are having to create all the content throughout the whole month, things like that. You just get creative with it to get involved with community, because again, your audience is very siloed, is very close together, and they want people in this day and age want a sense of community, because it's everyone's getting more and more detached and working remote and staying at home and not getting as many personal interaction. But if people are creating a sense of community naturally, like online for them, where they don't have to go anywhere and they're seeing that and they're involved and like, oh yeah, if I go in there, I can get involved with everybody else. Like that's the kind of feel that you want to create. Not easy to create said thing, but if you are able to, again, it makes your wins way, way easier, because people are aware of who you are already. And so these are examples of like content that's converting, and these were blog topics, that hey, how long can a battery sit unused? And these again, just because you're having a lot of impressions and a lot of clicks, and these yes, these work, and but not all the visits will be your customer. But when you start getting stickier traction over time from different URLs, it creates a higher likelihood of trust for Google that you'll rank better locally. So that's the importance there. So it's not I'm not like, hey, yeah, of all these clicks that took place in this time frame, every single one's a customer. Like no, like a lot of these people are probably not even again remotely like close in the area that could be a viable customer. But this is starting to create a lot of trust with Google of what's going on. There's a reason why things are ranking better. So again, just ideas of different blog posts. And again, you can have a blog. Oh, oops, I accidentally clicked. It can be a blog. You can turn this into a social page, and you can see the difference between some of these specific blogs versus even just the homepage in general. So some topics just perform way better, and you can kind of lean into understanding like, oh, maybe I can make a social post in a community, and people maybe the odds are high that in community people are dealing with the same thing, and now I'm the expert at handling this thing. They'll come to us when said thing happens. So that's the whole idea of what you want to do. So why would an auto repair shop need a blog? That's a great question, because I know no sane customer is going through your whole blog of like everything that you type and being an active subscriber, reading everything that you write. That's not happening. The blog is just a data warehouse for Google at the end of the day. Google does read everything, and that's what's going to help you rank organically as effectively as possible, both where your website ranks, where your business listing ranks, etc. So that's the importance of having just content there for Google to read and understand, and it helps you rank in certain keywords better, linking internally between certain pages, so on and so forth. Just creates a kind of an organic power within the site. So that's why it is important. If it's limited in terms of the amount of pages that you have on a site, or another thing is that if this is just AI that's writing it, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Because there's just update after update recently of Google just like cracking down on this really, really hard. And so yeah, if you have someone running your website that like they're producing a lot of content, and you're like, but they don't, how do they do that? They don't even have like a content writer on their team or anything like that. It's probably being AI generated, and more than likely that'll create very negative effects SEO wise. And then you'll start feeling like, hey, why is this not working? And that will be a really, really easy connection of the dots of like, yeah, this is why said thing happened. Because that was the strategy behind it, even though again, AI is amazing to leverage, amazing to come up with topics and get you a good distance of the way there, but never just copy and paste over the words that are there and throw it on the site and think, oh yeah, that's just gonna magic. Like you might get an artificial dip in like the initial phase, but you will get cracked down really quickly. And again, sometimes your whole site will just like get de-indexed, which just means like Google doesn't recognize your site anymore. And that's where now your rankings only drop from there. There's no way to go up. So yeah, you want to be careful when it comes to those things. And reputation management. So the revenue impact of reviews. So the key metrics to track here, you want to understand the number of reviews, your star rating. You want to understand the response rate to reviews and your reputation versus local competitors. That's going to be how you kind of want to look at your data of this little section here in your Google business profile. The number, so that I get a question a lot. It's like if I get the highest number of reviews, will I be the highest ranking in my area? No, like reviews is not a one-to-one direct correlation of like, yeah, if you have overpowering the highest number of reviews, you'd be the highest. I'm sure a lot of you have dealt with like why is this other person ranking so well, even though I have way more reviews than them? Again, reviews is a really good trust source, a trust index. You want to have more great reviews, but it's not going to be the number one thing that drives your SEO. But what happens within reviews now is that reviews are indexed. So as in like it's almost as if it's a data point for Google to read and register. And so you want to make sure that you're also responding to these reviews because again, Google is reading everything. It's not indexing your review response quite at the same capacity in which it's receiving when a customer leaves a review, but still very effective to be able to place these things. You want to place again certain keywords and whatnot of what they came in for, what they brought in into your review responses, but you want to respond to everything. That's also very important. It's showing that you're using Google's product as much as possible so I can trust you. So the more that you are going through the exercise of responding to reviews, and then now customers are seeing that you're responding to reviews, you're engaged with them, there's a higher likelihood again that they're coming to you because the review response is not even alerted to the person that left the review. It's just for other people. Really, when they're reviewing your shop and they're seeing how you respond, they're seeing great reviews. That's what they want to see. Um, Someone asked, what do I say in response to a negative review without sounding defensive? That is a great question because obviously we're all emotionally attached to our businesses. And when someone goes out of their way to say something bad, like, I mean, there's probably nothing more that makes you upset because you work so hard to get to this point. And so that's where I highly, highly recommend leveraging AI in these situations of saying, hey, this person left this review. This is what I want to say. How do I say that in a more cordial manner? Like you can even explain it that way. And then I will spit something out and you're like, okay, that sounds a little bit better, but I want to say this instead. And then like you start iterating and eventually like, again, you kind of create now a template for yourself of like, this is what I can say. You slightly adjust it from there and then put it in there. One thing, like for example, we take care of handling negative reviews as well because we're not as emotionally attached. Like yes, we are helping support all of our businesses and seeing bad reviews never makes us happy either, but we're not as emotionally attached to the business either. So at times, like as long as we understand some of the story, we do the same sort of thing where we leverage AI to bring a corridor conversation to the matter, put it in there, and now the owner doesn't even need to worry about said thing. It's there, it's handled, and that's what you want to do when you're going through these. But you don't want to ignore them because you can filter by lowest reviews, and if they see like all the bad reviews, this person never responds, only the good ones they respond to, that won't be a good look either. So you want to make sure that you're responding to them. Okay, a great question. And then another level, so the power of just follow-ups within texting and email marketing. Key metrics to track here, you want to look at the click-through rate, the open rate. And so, for example, some people are like, hey, I never want to send texting promos. I don't think that's a good look. And that's fair. I think however you want to run your business, but it absolutely can work. So for example, this month, we sent out a promo for one of our customers and I think only a batch of like 250, but we sent out a promo of those 250. I think only 15 actually responded and came into the shop, but it ended up I think it was like 12 ROs that resulted in like $8,500. And that is an amazing ROI because now again, texting is not costing the business anymore to send out a text. You just have to come up some of the time to come up with a promo, maybe some discounting that took place. But now that those are like customers that like typically you'd create a parameter like, yeah, customers at least that haven't come in the last 6 months or maybe within the last 3 months or whatever parameter you want to create. And now those people came back and they spent X amount of dollars. That is a huge win and a huge ROI return for very, again, little to no cost at all to you, but only dollars that got brought into the bottom line. So very effective use of being able to do another marketing channel, but you want to track to it and see how well those things are working. And if they are, because if again you're seeing like, hey, I'm only getting people to unsubscribe when I send out these things, then okay, maybe you want to look back and see maybe the specials that I'm sending are ineffective or I'm sending out too many too often. That's what you want to make sure you're taking a look at there. Okay. And someone asked, what's the best time to send a follow-up text or email? Follow-up text, I guess it depends on the service. Like if follow-up text, if to say they came in for a service, that should be within a couple of business days, pretty quick. So that way they can remember that they actually came in and received said service. But then timings of if they haven't been in a while, usually you create parameters like 6 month, 9 month, 12 month, etc. Or maybe you're 5.5 month, 8.5 month, and do something slightly different. But you do want to create a sequence where yeah, if people haven't shown up in a while, that you are touching back up to them via text and email. Like why not do both? If you have the capability to do both, because majority of the time people are going to read text. That's going to have a way higher open rate than emails. But again, if you are able to send an email, some people do prefer that way. A few handful of people, but still another way to be able to send things out too. Okay. So why follow-ups work? So automated appointment reminders equals fewer no-shows. So if you have appointments, you want to make sure that they are getting reminded of said appointment. I mean, I've forgotten many appointments that I've set that because they didn't send me a reminder and I forgot to put it in my calendar. And so if I'm sure a lot of people are the same way, they're busy. They're like, oh yeah, I have to set an appointment now. I'll I'll remember in a few days or in 1 week, but they don't. Life gets busy. So you want to ensure that you're creating a mechanism that makes it easy to send a follow-up sequence there to create fewer no-shows for these appointments. And it definitely works in terms of the automation of that. Running things like seasonal promotions, again, like get your AC checked before summer for 20% off, bring customers back into the shop. You want to be conscious of like your area as well, of what's working, because what's working in one area would not necessarily work in another area. But because I mean, we do this at scale, we're able to understand like, okay, yeah, there's a high likelihood that this type of promo works. Do you want to try this too in your area? Maybe slight adjustment if you want to make it a little bit customized approach to what you do. That's again what it never hurts to come up with these things. And maybe you don't send it every month. Maybe you're like, hey, once a quarter, we'll come up with something. Something unique and to create demand. That's another way, again, to foster this within your customer, your CRM, because again, you already have that data. It doesn't hurt to be able to reach back out to them. And then a great time to see how they felt you did and leave a review. And Google reviews are huge and a great way to get that follow up. But you got to ask to make sure that one, they're happy, make sure they're taken care of. But then if they are happy, it doesn't hurt to at least ask them to leave a Google review. There's a way higher chance to do that than if you didn't ask at all. Like more than likely, they're not going out of their way to leave a review for you. Um, how can I automate follow-ups without sounding robotic? And great question. Just try not to say things that everyone else says over and over. Or maybe some of these other systems have it set to default to like these exact words that they would say. I mean, just sound like a person at the end of the day. Like you can edit and type in the prompt that should be followed up with, and then that way that goes out that way every time. Or maybe if maybe you're in Texas and you throw in a y'all in there, or whatever it may be. I mean, I lived in Texas for 4 years, and that can resonate a little bit more with the customers and show that yeah, it's a real person that's speaking with them potentially. You want to create that highest likelihood as possible. Okay. All right. So any questions and thoughts up through this point? So I mean, we covered a lot of different items of terms of yeah, different marketing channels, but then how to review the data. Are there any other questions there? You know, I appreciate all of you being live here, and I want to be able to answer any of your questions, and because you're taking the time out of your day to be with me here. And those of you that are watching the recording and on YouTube, I mean, feel free to throw the questions down below as well. I will go through and answer every single one to the best of my abilities. So that way, again, you're more than taken care of. Someone asked if it will be available for us to rewatch. Yes, there's going to be a recording, so it'll be on the YouTube channel, and we'll also email it out, so that way everyone is able to see that. And but some people that are watching this now probably watching it via recording. But again, as you have questions, again, feel free to reach out. But a few more things. So free strategy session. So if you're like, hey, some of the things that you shared today, Kelsey, was intriguing, and I need you to hands-on review what we have going on. I mean, we do free reviews all the time. And so feel free to reach out to us. You can give us a call. You can email us. You can go to our website and you can scan this QR code. And I think there's been QR codes throughout the whole presentation. So at any time you can just scan that and then book a meeting with us. We'll review what you have going on. We'll look at your competitors, what they have going on, maybe what things they're doing better, or some things you're doing better, or if you're in a good place, if you have adjustments you need to be made, so on and so forth. We walk through that there. Other things, free marketing checklist. If you're like, hey, you know what? I rather not meet with you and I rather do things on my own. You can download a free checklist that's on our website here. You can go to go.liftautorepairmarketing.com/marketing checklist. It breaks down the different marketing channels. Make sure you have certain things set up that should be, again, basic necessities. And we try to regularly update this checklist to make it as relevant as possible, because some things change, some things adjust, and we want to make sure that people are aware there. And so if you've downloaded it before, it may have changed since the last time that you downloaded it. So feel free to go through and download it again. And then we have a Facebook group. So there's about 2,000 members that are in there. Free group to join. I mean, feel free to look it up on Facebook, where owners are sharing tips and questions. And we also post things about the latest marketing things going on, post the webinars, podcasts, things like that. And then we have a book. So feel free to swipe that on Amazon if you don't already have it. Just Drive More Business. My wife and I wrote this book, and just breaking down step by step to do online marketing for your shop. But that is everything today. I don't see any more questions. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you spending the time to hopefully learn a bit more today, just about data in general, how to review your marketing, how it should be working for you. Again, if you have any questions or need any help, feel free to reach out to our team, and we'll be happy to jump on and let you know that, you know what, things look really good right now, or I'm not sure how this person's defining this for you. And I would ask them about this a little bit, because this seems a little bit uncertain. Things like that. Again, it never hurts to have a pair of eyes sometimes. So, but yeah, again, thank you all for being here today. I'm Kelsey with Lift Auto Repair Marketing. We'll talk to you guys again next time. Bye.